Bears, majestic creatures, love honey, love stealing picnic baskets, adorable all around. Today I'm showing you a super budget bear commander deck that is both good and wicked fun to play. It incorporates a sub-theme no one has thought of yet, and you can build the entire thing for 60 bucks. I'll be showing you prices throughout the entire video, and if you want to see the list in full as well as upgrades for it, you can click the links in the description. I do hope you enjoy this budget bear commander deck tech, and if you do, please remember to hit that like button below the video. It actually does help out a lot. Ayula, Queen Among Bears, is one of anything in 1 green for a 2/2 legendary creature bear. Whenever another bear enters the battlefield under your control, choose one. Either put 2+1/+1 counters on target bear, or target bear you control fights target creature you don't control. Ayula is the best bear commander we've ever had, and we're going to utilize both trigger options well in this deck. She's powerful in that she can turn 2 mana 2/2s into 4/4s without a second thought, and after they're 4/4s, she can start ordering them to fight when more bears enter the fray, a combat master. But this deck is more than just tribal bear spells, Ayula's influence. This card inspires an entire sub-theme in this deck of land discard, land sacrifice, and land recursion, something tribal decks don't normally take advantage of. This deck is full of bears and land shenanigans. I think you're gonna like it. We'll begin with the bear tribal portion of the deck list. For this strategy to work, Ayula needs a constant stream of bears entering the battlefield. We'll begin with some high value bears. Ulvenwald Bear can enter as a 4/4 before Ayula even adds counters or fights, enabling this bear to destroy a lot on the field immediately. Chameleon Colossus, same thing since it's a bear, and it can pump itself to Kingdom Come. Druid's Familiar comes with Soul Bond, and giving +2/+2 to multiple bears, lots of power for 4 mana. Changeling Titan is a monstrous bear that will function as a removal spell more often than not. Game Trail Changeling is another filler bear, but it has trample and a high power and toughness. Then Dragon Scarred Bear has a relevant formidable ability allowing regeneration whenever he dies in a fight. Great target for that trigger. The deck runs Ashcoat Bear to ambush opponents with Ayula triggers. Spectral Bears comes with a potential downside, but a 2 mana 3/3 bear with an Ayula trigger can quickly be a 5/5 bear, so we're okay with it. Werebear can ramp and eventually get huge. Pale Bears and River Bear both have Island Walk, and we all know how popular blue is in Commander. Vivian's Grizzly is actually pretty good here, triggering Ayula and getting one of our 32 other creatures a decent amount of the time. Goreclaw is here because we have loads of 4-power creatures and he presents a legitimate threat when attacking. Striped Bears draws a card and entry to the battlefield, can't say no to that. And Mother Bear triggers Ayula, then triggers Ayula twice when you exile her from the graveyard. That's so much value. Massing Ayula triggers is one of the most important things we can be doing in this deck, so in addition to running a bunch of valuable and powerful bears, we're also running a handful of vanilla bears, because again, with Ayula, they aren't so vanilla. Balduvian Bears, Bear Cub, Grizzly Bears, and Runeclaw Bear, all 2 mana 2/2 bears. Woodland Changeling is an honorary bear, and both Alpine Grizzly and Golden Bear make excellent Ayula fight targets, and they benefit from Goreclaw's cost reduction and attack trigger. We're very serious about creating bears because Ayula only cares if they enter the battlefield, not if they're cast, so we're going to abuse that. Both Riptide Replicator and Volras Laboratory create a steady stream of bears, each one triggering Ayula, making your entire bear army bigger and more ferocious, and both can be activated to add instant speed, exactly what we're looking for. Hibernation's End is a really cool enchantment that lets us go up our curve, grabbing a new bear or other important creature along the way until we can't pay for it anymore. That's a lot of creature tutors, and we can get rid of it when we don't need it. Nice bit of tech. Kamal's Summons is going to benefit you more than any other player most of the time since you're running 33 creatures. Multiple bears entering the battlefield at the same time, chaos. Same could be said for Grizzly Fate. With Threshold, this card is bonkers, creating 4 bears and then doing it again a bit later. All of those bears trigger Ayula. Yeah, the board is probably dying to your bear triggers, just saying. Now the deck comes with Words of Wilding. Green isn't known for its card draw capabilities, but we're going above and beyond in this deck to make this enchantment great and create tons of bears. Both Harmonize and Shamanic Revelation are in this deck, the Revelation giving us a bunch of life most of the time. Slate of Ancestry refills the hand and triggers words like crazy. Life Crafter's Bestiary is a repeatable source of card draw and card filtering. Then Regal Force is a mana dump that refills the hand because all of our creatures are green. Lots of card draw potential for Words of Wilding, worth the inclusion. If anything goes wrong and our bears are wiped out, don't fear. Caller of the Claws in this deck has a bit of insurance. It isn't going to get Ayula triggers if everything dies, but it's going to replace all the non-token bears that were lost, preparing you to exact revenge against the cold, heartless person who killed your beautiful, friendly bears. What a monster! This is where the deck turns to its sub-theme. Ayula's Influence is a great Ayula trigger, but it's also an excellent card for getting lands in your graveyard for later use. We have other ways to do that as well that help the deck out a bunch. Arcane Spyglass is an often underrated card, letting us sacrifice lands in exchange for cards, refueling the hand and filling the graveyard. Harrow is an instant speed ramp spell that requires a land sacrifice, all good there. Renewal is a card no one ever remembers. You sacrifice a land as an additional cost to cast it. Search your library for a basic land card and put it onto the battlefield, shuffle your library, then you draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. You get an untapped land out of it and it replaces itself. I love this card. Sometimes you must bring the big guns, and that's where a Wave of Vitriol comes in. It wrecks every artifact, enchantment, and non-basic land, sending them all to the graveyard, but little do your opponents know, your sacrifice lands aren't staying there for long. And then we have World Breaker, what a busted card. Aside from the fact that it's a house and exiles an important artifact, enchantment, or land, you can keep bringing the stupid thing back by simply sacrificing a land, which is what we want to do anyways. It's one of the strongest cards in this deck for sure. Now we're going to get even more lands into the graveyard, but then plan to bring them back in a blaze of glory. The Mending of Dominaria mills us twice and gets our good creatures back, which is nice, but then it's going to bring all the lands back, all of them, all the lands that we discarded and sacrificed, everything. It's so beautiful. The same could be said for World Shaper. We're going to attack with this crazy Merfolk Shaman until someone kills it. We attack, we get to mill ourselves, and then when it dies, a truly wondrous sight as everything comes back. It's almost like a splendid reclamation, which is also in this deck, along with Ramanap Excavator. We're looking to get lands into the graveyard so we can bring them back, so we can put them into the graveyard so we can bring them back, but the real question is, how does this help us? Evolution Sage is the piece of bear tribal goodness that synergizes with our land nonsense. It's going to proliferate all the bears that have +1/+1 counters on them thanks to Ayula, but that isn't the reason we're running this package. Mainly just a happy accident that is well worth running. We're running this package so we can abuse powerful land-based abilities. Field of Ruin, Ghost Quarter, and Tectonic Edge are all in this deck. Being able to bring them back over and over again, that's so annoying. You're going to be the most annoying player at the table. Everyone thinks you're playing a simple bear tribal deck, but nope, not you. You're more complex than that. Then boom, their important lands go away one by one. Even normal dual lands aren't safe from you with this destructive package. There are other ways to take advantage of land recursion. Blighted Woodland, Memorial to Unity, Warped Landscape, Evolving Wilds, and Terramorphic Expanse are all sacrifice lands that have real value in this deck, and with a land recursion package, they have double the value. Getting to cast Memorial to Unity multiple times, that's a great feeling, let me tell ya. Then we have cycling lands. Discard them and eventually bring them back for free mana. Desert of the Indomitable, Slippery Karst, and Tranquil Thicket. Land recursion is a real beautiful thing. We have bears and we have lands. It's time for bear support. We need to win the game, and we're going to do that by being overpowering with our bear army. Brass Herald is a great tribal buff card that has a sweet dig trigger on entry to the battlefield. Ronas' Monument is perfect for this deck, making most creatures cheaper to cast, but more importantly, giving creatures great buffs whenever we cast our bears. Add this +2/+2 and trample to Ayula's trigger, and each bear will be able to fight whatever you want or attack in for a bunch of damage. Then we get serious. Thunderfoot Baloth is one of the better budget cards for pumping our team to high heaven. As long as Ayula's on the battlefield, which she will be most of the time, cheap to cast even with a few instances of command attacks on her. Anyways, as long as she's on the battlefield, bears are 4/4s with trample minimum. The name of the game is massing bears, and if you can play this Baloth with a sloth of bears out and Ayula in tow, you can very well overrun your opponents all at once and win the game as brutality in the extreme. If this isn't enough for you, there's bigger. Tribal Unity is the ultimate tribal pump spell. It's like Overrun on steroids. An excellent late game mana sink that doesn't require anything specific to be on the battlefield, just an army of bears. And it's instant speed. Expensive, yeah, but again, late game, with all the land grabbing you have, there will be plenty of mana to invest in this spell and win the game in an instant. We've also snuck in Primal Bellow because the deck runs 21 forests and you're going to get them real quick. Nice cheap combat trick to dumpster an opponent, especially if your creature has trample. Oof. We need some removal in this deck, can't just spew bears and hope nothing bad comes our way. Acidic Slime is solid removal against annoying artifacts, enchantments, or lands. Beast Within, pretty much same thing except it hates everything equally. I like that progressive thinking. Then there's Naturalize and Nature's Claim, cheap ways to deal with stuff we don't like. Moving on, Yavimaya Elder grabs a couple lands and puts them into the hand to discard to Ayula's Influence, as well as draw a card when you sacrifice it. Commander's Sphere provides early game ramp and eventually card draw when you don't need it anymore. Swiftfoot Boots makes the cut because protecting Ayula is actually pretty important, and if you can make it so your opponents need to board wipe to get rid of her over and over again, then you've basically won that minigame. This deck runs 35 lands, a bit less than average, but we don't need that many. There's a ton of ramp in addition to the fetches that we can bring back from the yard. The deck includes Rampant Growth, Cultivate, Far Wanderings, Nissa's Pilgrimage, Explosive Vegetation, Sakura Tribe Elder, and Explore. This may seem like a lot, but it's where you want to be when it comes to guaranteeing you get the mana you need early in the game to get your Bear Force started. Putting in as many ways to get mana early as possible is a good idea for a strategy like this. Once you have the lands you need, these spells just become additional landfall triggers for the Proliferate Sage. As far as lands go, we've already covered most of them, but there are a few left. Scavenger Grounds is in this deck as a panic button if one of your opponents has a graveyard-based deck and they're about to go off. Rogue's Passage is to help you get a powerful bear through the enemy's defenses and smack them in the face. Then Temple of the False God is simply efficient mana. Add in 21 Forests, and that's the 35 land mana base for our bear tribal deck. This strategy is meant to do a few things. Attack the opponents on two fronts. First, we have the expected bear tribal deck with all the most relevant bears and a decent amount of support for them, including non-creature ways to create more bears. As far as tribal decks go, this package is nearly optimal for the budget we're on. But what makes this deck truly special is that it's a tribal deck that can actually attack on a second front. The land recursion package is not what players are going to expect out of a mono green bear tribal deck. You will take them by surprise when you start nuking their lands and recurring your own. It's an awesome combination of strategies that will be difficult to deal with. Maybe your opponents can work a way around one of them, but probably not both, at least not efficiently. Two-pronged attack. Now, it's time to talk upgrades depending on what you're looking to do. If you want to upgrade the bear tribal section of the deck, I do have some spicy upgrade suggestions. If you want more bears, Razorclaw Bear and Forest Bear are both stupidly expensive but attainable. Bearscape is a big one. It spiked in price right when Ayula was revealed, but its price is coming down a bit, well worth the addition to the deck even if you keep the land theme. You can remove bears from your yard to create more bears. Then we have the blanket tribal cards I really like right now and Herald's Horn and Vanquisher's Banner. The Horn cheapens your creatures and draws you extra cards 30% of the time. The Banner draws you cards on creature spell cast, so I mean, you gotta run it if you have it. If you enjoyed the land recursion package as much as I do, there are some excellent upgrades you can make. Dust Bowl is another land destruction spell that's basically made for this deck. Blast Zone, same thing. Recursion on a converted mana cost board wipe is great. Then we have the obvious additions in Crucible of Worlds, another card that lets us play out our land destruction lands. And finally, my favorite upgrade for this specific deck, Sylvan Safekeeper. The bears need to be kept safe, especially Ayula. The Safekeeper guarantees our safety from targeted spells and abilities by sacrificing a land, just a land. We get those back all the time. The card isn't incredibly expensive. I would pick it up if you enjoy this bear land deck. Ayula Bear Tribal is a very cool strategy that we've been waiting for a long time. Bear Tribal has been something that couldn't really come together until now, but here we are. She's super fun to play and her trigger makes all bears valuable. When you add in the land recursion package to this Bear Tribal deck, you make something truly unique. Something that your playgroup is not going to expect. If you enjoy playing tribal decks in Commander, but want a little bit of a twist, this is your chance. The deck is really cheap for how good it is, the upgrades are reasonable if you're interested, and I promise you'll have a bunch of fun playing the deck if you give it a chance. You can see the entire list and upgrades by clicking the links in the description, and anything you buy helps the channel out, so again, if this interests you at all, I highly suggest you give it a shot. You will not be disappointed. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time!